be talking about the future of cinema, specifically independent cinema. Why? Because I had to do it for a uni assignment and it's actually kind of interesting. And if I say anything that is wrong, ignore it. And if you disagree with my take, just agree with me. Thank you. So at first I thought it was gonna go towards AI and like new technology stuff. And I read this paper by Roy Ascott that talked about this term moist media. He says that moist media is the combination of traditional art media with digital and interactive technologies. He says visionary pragmatism is an attribute to be fostered in all aspiring artists and that moist media is its creative ally. And then this got me thinking, what is the constant need to integrate emerging like technologies of each era with art? Why do people think it's so cool? Well, I do know why people think it's so cool, but like why is there a constant trend of wanting to do that? I don't know, maybe I'm a bit biased by it. But anyway, so after reading this paper, I thought that was where cinema was gonna head towards. But then I read more of this paper and I kept reading this paper, and Roy Ascott said, in the 20th century, the value of buildings were based on the appearance of the building. But he predicted that in the future, the value will shift to how buildings provide for us and how they interact with us. So then that got me thinking, like, how has like the perception of movies changed over time, like how good a movie is? And then I realized there's a current obsession with valuing uniqueness and obscurity, where like the rarity of appreciation actually increases the movie's worth. Like you have people being like, Marvel films, like you know the film stuff. So then that got me thinking, like, would people who enjoy independent cinema actually want art and human existence to be so deeply entwined with technology? Don't they want to be a bit like different, or stray away from AI script writing and all of that? So following that thought, I went and read Avant-Garde Film in the Age of Intermedia by Jonathan Wally, where I found out about this movie called Long Film for the Ambient Light by Anthony McCall. He called this work a movie, but it actually wasn't something that you watch, so it was kind of set up like a gallery exhibition where you walk into a room and there's no film, nothing, no projector, no movie screen. It was literally just a room where there was light and time. And the time was like the time you spent in the room. It basically broke down cinema to its simplest form without the interference of budget or materials or labor. Does this mean that cinema is in fact a painterly or sculptural or performative art? This got me thinking, if the independent film community values obscurity and basically the opposite of blockbuster films, there's a high chance that independent cinema could move towards this avant-garde genre. It's called expanded cinema, by the way. And so with the rise of blockbuster films, there may be less demand for independent films. So then maybe films like Long Film for the Ambient Light is the only viable option for independent filmmakers in regards to like financial reasons. Like that could be an issue in the future. So to combat blockbuster, so-called brain-dead movies, we'll move towards deconstructed cinema, where multiple works that are like physically separated are placed in a room to create one movie, similar to a gallery setup. So then I started researching about how movies could add components or be presented in anything other than a visual and audio format. And I found scented cinema. Samuel Rothafel dipped cotton in rosewood and he held it in front of a fan to make the theatre smell floral when he screened a newsreel of the Pasadena Rose Bowl game. Then I kept going down that rabbit hole of incorporating more than just a flat visual screen and audio, and I found this guy called Randall Williams had a ghost illusion show at British Fairgrounds ages ago, and so it's just like using projection to project a ghost, kind of, and people love that. Another thing was Phantasmagoria, I don't know, was a type of horror theatre that used magic lanterns to project scary images, and so it would float out in front of the viewers. It was super popular in the 18th century in Germany and most of Europe, and so this proves that unconventional cinema is not a stranger to the public, and people have always enjoyed surprising elements added to entertainment that they were usually used to. So then I kind of went down a spiral of thinking that all of this had to be present in independent film for it to stay relevant in the future, to beat blockbuster films and like home streaming. Like people need a reason to go outside. But anyways, then I read a paper by this guy called Morten Hyland, who was a filmmaker and also one of the pioneers of VR. He said that man is not only a rational animal, but a social animal. He will still get dressed up and go to a concert hall to hear music he can hear on the radio, and he will still go to neighborhood movies to see the same film he could see at home. So then I was like, yeah, it's fun incorporating all these new like technologies into cinema. But the guy who was the pioneer of VR himself was like, no, people will just still love movies as it is. So then I was like, so true. The thing people love most about cinema is the social aspect of it. Being able to discuss things with each other, being around each other while you're watching the movie. Like Letterboxd is so popular right now because people just love to give their opinion on a movie, and that's so fun. And so then I started thinking maybe the future of independent cinema is gonna be really heavily focused on the social aspect of it. Maybe it's gonna be something that you can watch while interacting with other people during the movie. And then this led me back to thinking about like that gallery-esque setup. And so like thinking back on what Helix said, humans just crave interaction and connection, and like they get attached to entertainment. A good example of that is Bandersnatched, where you can choose the path of the TV show. And then I was thinking about Bandersnatched, and then I started thinking about like EdTV and Truman Show, where they're all quite voyeuristic, and it's like very similar to like a reality TV show. Everyone is obsessed with reality TV shows. Like you somehow people get an attachment with like certain characters and people. So whatever the future of independent cinema is, it would need to be able to create a connection with the viewer. And already independent cinema relies on the viewer to want to like reflect and analyze the movie afterwards or during it as well. But as our world becomes more disconnected because of technology and also the rise of blockbuster films, I think independent cinema, because people like obscure stuff, they're gonna have to go the opposite way and do like an extreme like version of like thought-provoking thing or something. So, in conclusion, independent cinema will move towards that expanded cinema vibe. It will become more artistic and more abstract form of expression that really emphasizes on the idea of discussion and interaction between viewers. It will be treated as a finer art form similar to curated exhibitions. So what might this look like? To make it easier to comprehend, I have created a futuristic version of the movie Midsommar. Everyone says it differently, I don't know. But yeah, I've created a futuristic version of it, of what I think it'll be like in 10 years time, if it was made 10 years in the future. Okay, so this might be a little bit difficult to visualize, but I'm gonna try my best. So, original Midsommar, and I will be switching between Midsommar and Midsommar because I don't want to search it up online, because I haven't searched up how to pronounce it ever, and I'm not gonna do it now. Original Midsommar is 2 hours and 28 minutes long. Futuristic Midsommar is 15 minutes and spread out in 4 rooms. Okay, so the whole idea of futuristic Midsommar is that it gets you to feel the same feeling you get from watching the original Midsommar. So first you walk into room 1, and room 1 has 4 walls, and it is all projected bright baby blue, the same color as what's usually in Midsommar. And so it stays that color blue for like maybe a minute, and then it turns into a montage of rural Sweden, because that's where the movie is set, and then the words Midsommar, Midsommar, Midsummer pops up on all 4 of the screens. Then with the audio, the sound of, is it Danny or Dani? The sound of I'm gonna say Dani, sobbing with the other members of the Haga commune, starts playing quietly and gets louder and louder until all 4 of the walls turn yellow. Okay, so once all of the walls have been yellow for a little bit, Pelly's face pops up, and he's on wall 1, And on the opposite of wall 1 is Christian's face, and then it has the video of Paolo Pelli inviting Christian to go to the 9-day midsummer festival. And on the other two screens, screen 2 is Dani's traumatized face from her family passing, and on the opposite, so screen 4, is Mark, Josh, Simon, and Connie. So this is how futuristic Midsummer introduces their main characters. The video will then loop back to the start to signal to the viewers to move into the next room. So the next room has like fake yellow grass and cushions that the viewers can sit on. Wall 1 will have a screen showing this bright blue sky that's really clear. If you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about. They're on this like field of grass, and that's where Florence Pugh, Dani, takes psychedelic mushrooms. Anyway, blue light on yellow objects makes yellow objects look green. So when viewers first enter the room, they think they're like on green grass and all of that. And then on the other walls, there's like symbols from the movie written on... Oh my god, what was that? Symbols of the movie written... There are symbols from the movie written on the walls in red, but blue light makes red things look black. So then when they're first in the room, everything, like the symbols just look like they're written in black. But then, because if you watch the movie, you'll know that Dani has a horrible trip on the psychedelic mushrooms. And so with the audio, there'll be like a buzzing sound that gets louder and louder and louder. And then eventually the screen will turn to yellow. And when the screen turns yellow, the room will illuminate with yellow. And the viewer will realize that the grass is actually yellow and the cushions are yellow. And that the writing is actually red. And then it looks like blood. Then the screen will oscillate between a blue sky and also a yellow screen, so then it's like really trippy, and you're like kind of reading. Screen 1 then plays the suicide scene of the elders, and it goes to a blank white after, and then you see all of the cult members standing around, and it's like carried on through all the walls. And then you go into room 3. So room 3 will have 4 screens. Each screen will show each death of Connie, Simon, Mark, and Josh. And the audio of that room is like the dialogue from the movie, sounding suspicious and distressed. And then right in the center is a lifelike sculpture of Dani crying in the position that she is crying when like there's people crowding around her and they're like doing this chanting crying thing. As you get closer to her, you can hear her wailing coming out of her mouth. This room's set up for viewers to move from one screen to the next, so you watch each screen, and then once they've seen all 4 screens, they can go into the 4th room. The last room has that triangle yellow house. When viewers first enter this room entirely, it's like dark, and only a few lights illuminate the yellow house. And then once they enter the house, there's a life-size sculpture of Christian in the bear suit, and like everything in the house is set up like the movie. So the hay, the symbols, the other sacrifices. And slowly the yellow house room inside, it slowly turns red, and the sound of fire crackling begins until it's like super loud and accompanied by the sounds of the commune members mimicking screams. And then after they've experienced that, they walk out of the triangle yellow room into the big room, and on the 4 screens will be projections of daytime, blue skies. It's no longer dark, and there are visuals of colourful flower petals raining down, and in the screen behind the yellow house will be Dani's face doing that cathartic smile, and then the song from the movie Fire Temple begins playing. And then that is the end of futuristic midsummer summer.